What's up, you crotch cricket eaters? Welcome to Terrence Popp's show, live from the lair. And it is live, gentlemen. Who knew?
Who knew?
Now, we're a little disheveled this morning because I just figured out that PayPal has canceled all of my accounts. I can no longer do business with them, and Venmo has done the same thing.
Yep.
So we are dealing with that situation. So we might have to go to a direct crypto kind of donations, or I'm just going to have to talk to some other individuals to get the lowdown on how we can circumvent this crap.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm just going to approach this like I do everything else. This is war. Everything is war. And if it can be used to cause pain, discomfort, or fear, it's a tool of war. And that's exactly what money is. And what can I say? So we're trying to work on the other camera for Blake and get up and running. Now, what we do have is we have an individual on the line who unfortunately lived through basically the fall of the Soviet Union and a bunch of the shagnanigans that took place after that, and a lot of it was a two-way rifle range. Now, a lot of this was not covered in the Western media because when it was going on, we had the Gulf War and then a bunch of other big events, and it just didn't really hit our news cycle that hard. I do know some operatives from back in the day who did time over there trying to assist and so forth. A lot of them were working for NATO. And for those of you that don't know, NATO is virtually useless. Okay, they were so hemmed in and blocked by their own internal bureaucracy and policies. They were virtually useless, and they were just as useless as they were in Africa when several million people got butchered in their internal conflict. NATO showed up and basically couldn't really do anything because nobody could agree on what actions to take. While we had countless people over there butchered and killed, massacred. You can add whatever name you want to. That's fine, but that's just the way it works.
I'm not going to argue with that. Hello, everyone, by the way.
Oh, yeah. And today our guest is called Z. We have him on Zoom. And Z, start us off with just before the Soviet Union fell, did you guys have any rumblings of this shit going down?
Well, it was the regular Soviet stuff, The country was in slow spiral of stagnation, shortages, crime, a bit of that. But in December 1991, when it collapsed and 15 countries appeared, or should I say reappeared on the map, new presidents were elected, and so on. So after 70 years, most of these countries' economies were geared towards supplying the needs of the Union. So since the Union no longer existed, the economies crashed. And in my country's case, it wasn't a recession, it wasn't a depression, it went from 100% to zero, which meant that the newly printed currency was just fancy paper, was nothing, and the newly created national bank was empty as a drum barrel. So there were absolutely no foreign currency reserves, which means without money, you cannot import anything, which means deficits of everything, which means starvation.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, all right. Now,
that's the backdrop.
That's a close parallel to what we're seeing here. And right now, it's just ramping up. But if we keep printing money like we have been, we will crash our economy. And because we're all evil, hairless monkeys, the same shit's going to happen here.
Yep. So what followed? One of the country's regions, seeing what was going on, they declared, fuck you, we had it really good under the USSR, we don't need you, we want to go back under Russia's wing, and they tried to secede. So Russia was very happy about that, obviously. They sent them weapons, they sent them mercenaries, and our government sends the army and the National Guard. to quell this insurrection. And they were undermanned, undersupplied, and completely inexperienced. So they got destroyed.
Okay.
And then the president made a huge fucking mistake. He called on local paramilitary groups and militia to go and fight alongside the soldiers. Now, these were not the militia the way the Americans understand it. During the USSR, these groups mostly consisted of organized criminals, and several of their leaders were in prison at the time. So they weren't soldiers, they were gangsters. And they were absolutely out of control. They were complete garbage in combat. And all they did was rob, rape, and murder civilians on both sides. So they committed a shitload of atrocities. And basically, long story short, the war was lost, and lost fucking miserably. 4,000 people died on our side.
How many people died?
4,000.
4,000 people.
Okay.
And almost 250,000 of civilians had to flee their homes. So the army and the National Guard came back broken and basically devastated. And then the president made his second mistake. He fired the Guard's commander for his failure, a general who was like a father figure to them. He relieved him of command. So this really pissed the Guard off. And they said basically, fuck that. They formed a coalition with the paramilitaries. They broke their leaders out of prison and started a coup against the president.
Okay.
Most of the army remained loyal and fought back. So it was bloody, street-by-street fighting with civilians getting caught in the crossfire.
Well,
I mean, Popp,
that
you know what
happens
a
in
nightmare
well, first
urban
of all,
warfare is.
civilians getting caught in the crossfire and it turning into an absolute nightmare. That is the basic, that's backdrop 101 for conflict. Just so you know, because this isn't like, back in the day where two armies show up and they have a couple days where they're in camp plotting, and then everyone in between has like ample time to get the F out of the way. That's usually not how
it doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen nowadays. Nowadays, when it pops off, it is on like Donkey Kong. And like most people can see the subtle things as they come, but they don't pay attention. Where I pay attention to those small things because, one, I don't sleep, and two, I think about things in a very deep level. So those little nuances that are going on are setting off alarm bells inside my thinking meat and, tickling the strings of my esp. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So I'm
exactly
sure
like that.
When it was kicking off or before it kicked off, what were the subtle things that, if you can remember anything, that led up to the violence?
There was a general depression, but you see, it was really sudden. So it came absolutely without any warning. There wasn't a PSA. There wasn't a news broadcast. We knew that there was a domestic conflict and the government was handling it. People went about their business. And one day we woke up to a fucking tank rumbling down our street, a firefight 2 blocks away, and our neighbor ducking to avoid fucking shrapnel.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really, really sudden.
And
it happened overnight.
Okay, it happened. And how long did the actual conflict go on for?
Yeah, for about 3 years. So 2 years and 10 months, I think.
And that was between what, 1991 and 94, or 92 to 95?
Yeah, 1991 was when one of the regions started an insurrection, and 1994 was when the bullets stopped flying, basically.
Okay, all right. So it went on for almost 3 years.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Usually, most of the time, full-blown conflicts after 5 years, they usually start to die down either through exhaustion, battle fatigue, or shrinking resources to include personnel to participate. So that is fairly common. Okay,
it was pretty bad.
Yeah. So when it happened, when the currency became worthless, how long did that take?
Less than a fucking week.
Less than a week.
Wow.
Because our country did not produce anything that the wider world needed. They only produced what the Soviet Union needed to feed its other 14 republics.
Okay, so...
And these republics were now independent and didn't give a fuck.
All right, so basically under the Soviet system, they doled out what each country was going to produce for the overall system. And then when that system collapsed, the stuff that the Soviets had those countries producing, you didn't have a market for them anymore. That's what you're saying.
Yep.
So you had to basically go from a communist where you already had did you have shortages of food and bread lines under the communist regime as well?
Well, there were shortages, of course, but you could always get the basic necessities. I mean, we didn't go hungry.
Okay, so you went from basic necessities to holy shit, I'm royally fucked. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, that sucks. All right, now I've said this many times on the show. When people can no longer feed their families, when they can't heat their houses, they can no longer work or do business or what have you, that is when shit gets real. Okay? Now,
yeah.
All right, so basically the president contacted the quote-unquote militias, which were basically organized crime, and he tried to use their muscle to assist, and it didn't work out, right?
It backfired horribly.
And you basically said earlier it backfired because not only did they rape, rob, and murder people on their side, but they did it to the enemy as well.
To the enemy civilians. In combat, they were worthless.
Yeah.
They were used to bullying like small business owners and racketeering and that kind of stuff. They were not soldiers.
Well, there's a big difference between fighting one guy or a couple guys and fighting people, like say you have to go up against 12 guys, a squad of infantry, who are trained how to fire and maneuver, how to complement each other's weapons, how to use the radio, night vision, and so forth. I mean, those individuals, for the most part, will always defeat the criminal element, because most of the criminal element that I've ever run across, they're lazy. They rely on intimidation to get whatever they want. They are incredibly ruthless, and they do insane acts of violence. But if they come up against trained, organized resistance, you can usually walk through them like a daydream.
Sounds like a particular group of panty-fascists we all know and love.
Well, but I'm just, as an example, in South America, this is very common for the drug lords to amass their own little armies, all right? And, yeah, I mean, they take charge of areas of the country and do fucked up shit. But they don't train like an army. Okay, they're not having RTEPs and fire maneuvers and, break contact and patrolling and how, they're not doing any of that. Okay, yes, they will hire soldiers who are out of the system to be mercenaries, but they have a hard time, training their people to a standard to be an effective fighting force. I'm just what I'm trying to say. And I've seen it in South America, and I'm hearing the same thing from you over there in, was it Chechnya? Or you're from Georgia?
Georgia. Mm-hmm. Chechnya was right next door.
Now, I have actually communicated with several soldiers who were involved in that on the Soviet side. And the way they explained it, it was like a cakewalk. They walked right through the Georgian forces like a daydream, because I don't know if your guys were. By the time the Soviet Union fell, did your country have a trained army?
Well, every country sent its recruits, its conscripts, to get trained by the Soviet Union. So we had basically scraps. We had our people who were trained by the Soviet system, but everything in the Soviet Union at the time was decaying. So they were under-equipped, they lacked numbers, and they were absolutely inexperienced, because counterinsurgency is a whole science, and they didn't know shit.
Yep, it is. Counterinsurgency.
And conscripts, basically one trained volunteer soldier who basically volunteered for that stuff. This soldier is worth 20 conscripts.
Well, to be honest with you, whenever you have a conscript or you get your people through the draft, the quality of the people you get goes way down. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and this is the photo you guys are putting up now. This is what the city center looked like in 1994 when the war was over.
Wow.
It was absolutely ransacked. There were bullet holes and everywhere because howitzers and mortars were shelling each other across the city.
Okay.
And so eventually the rebels, they succeeded and kicked the president out. He went into exile, but his supporters did not stop fighting. So it became a guerrilla war, which was spread across the entire country. But about a year later, the president came back and tried to take the power back, which sent the conflict into full swing again.
Yeah.
And in the end, the president was found dead, and details of his death are very murky to this day. So his death ended the war, and well, that was it.
Okay. All right, so the fighting went on for almost 4 years. Was there
closer to 3 than 4?
Oh, closer to 3. So we'll say 3 years. All right, so when this conflict was going on, was there an actual line where enemy was on one side and non-enemy on the other, like in the past? Or is it like...
Street by street fighting.
Yeah. And it erupted randomly, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So the way that I'm hearing this is this war was fought probably by squad to platoon size elements that would show up, do what they're going to do, and then they meld back into the populace, correct?
Yeah.
You know what they call that today? A flash mob. Where you put out the information, you put out the information to your operatives, where to be, what to have on you. They don't even know what they're doing until they get there. And then you tell them, hey, we're attacking this. And then they do what they got to do, and then they all just disappear.
Yep.
That is something that we are going to see here in this country. It's unfortunate, but it's true. And the only way to stop that is, neighborhoods are going to have to organize and put together like a way to defend against that stuff. Because in an urban environment, for the combat to last, the enemy or the violent individuals need to get into the buildings. Okay. If they are stopped in the street by people who don't want them in their building, because they know if they get in their building, they're going to basically the building's destroyed. Am I wrong? Because when the shooting starts, they just start like lobbing shells into buildings. Now, if the populace doesn't allow that to happen, then you can stand a chance.
Sometimes the populace doesn't really have a choice.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong there. I'm just saying. Yeah. In that country at the time, what was firearms ownership like? Were the basic civilians allowed to have their own weapons?
No, but there were quite a few unregistered weapons floating around. And the first thing that happened when the war started was the armories got looted. So whatever the army had was ransacked, first by the National Guard, then by the organized criminals, and they started diffusing the weapons among the populace. So you could get a gun, you could get an AK or a Makarov pistol or whatever. But at that time, most people were caught with pants down. So I was like 12 years old. Both of my parents were doctors, surgeons, and I had a little brother, and we were stuck in a small apartment in the capital.
Wow.
We had nothing. We did not have weapons.
And you didn't have food or any of that other shit, did you?
Well, just what was left in the fridge.
Yeah.
So many people out there, especially in the US, they think that two-way rifle range is something fun you do for a day or two.
No.
You go out,
Yeah.
you go out with your friends to get rid of your political enemies, and then come home to a cold beer and a soft bed. Nothing could be further from the truth.
No. I know. Combat is a bitch. And usually, if you're going to participate in it, you're going to freeze. You're going to starve. You're going to have probably a low-grade sickness for a long time because you're exerting your body beyond its design specifications. It's mentally very fatiguing, and it wears on your soul because you're engaged in a fucking war. And it's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
So first of all of the luxuries and necessities you are used to, they're gone out of the window. There was no electricity, there was no gas, and by gas I don't mean gasoline, I mean natural gas, because most of Georgia uses natural gas to heat the homes, and the winters were very cold. There was barely any water. We got maybe 1 hour of running water every 3 days, and it wasn't drinkable because the water treatment plants didn't work. We had to boil it. And half the apartment was filled with pots, pans, and buckets that we managed to fill in that hour. So whatever, basically, there was an extreme shortage of everything. Like you name it, you lacked it.
Okay. And how long did those shortages last?
All the time.
For basically 3 years?
3 years, yeah. Because, the whole country was split into pro and anti camps who killed each other on sight, and about a dozen other armed groups with pet ideologies fighting each other and everyone else, and bandits who robbed and killed for survival. And the government technically existed, but it could not enforce shit. It was total anarchy.
Okay. And then
some people picked sides and took part in the fighting, so they joined the factions, and some became bandits out of desperation.
Well, I understand the whole banditry thing. That happens all the time. But like in the Colombian Civil War and the Spanish Civil War, almost the exact same thing happened. You have the pros and the antis. And then you have your different factions. And then you have the asshats, which are the bandits. Now, over here in America, when this all kicks off, it's going to be the antis versus the pros. And the pros are probably going to be people who want the Constitution, who like the country as it was. You have the antis who want to basically turn the country into a communist, socialist hellhole. And that's going to kick off. And then you're going to have the racial component's going to come in because instinctively, that's just the way it goes down. You go to any prison, you walk in there, you're like, well, I'm not racist. Well, guess what? You're gonna be given a choice. Either you hang out with the whites and enforce their policies, or you have to fight them and the other races because you are on your own. And you don't want to be on your own. So that's going to happen. And then we have large populations of Muslims here who would love nothing better than to basically push their Sharia law in the street. And that's that whole religion of peace thing. Together. Yeah, they band together. That religion of peace thing. The Middle East has never been at peace, and they've had Islam for 2,000 years now? Just shy?
1,400 years.
Yeah, 1,500 years.
Yeah, because Jesus is mentioned in the Quran more than Muhammad.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And I've read the Quran twice, 2 different versions, and I read the Bible several times. I read the missing books of the Bible, and when you go through the missing books, you're like, how the fuck did they cherry pick all this stuff just to make? I mean, the Bible should be 4 times thicker than it is. But that's a side note. All right, so. What are some of the parallels that you're seeing happen here in America that you saw in Georgia?
Well, the economical situation was pretty much the trigger and the catalyst for all of this stuff. Because, we are all very nice and civilized when we have full bellies and when we have hot food and soft beds. But once this flies out of the window, once you realize that today your kids have nothing to eat, all of this civilization, all of these trappings, they go away like a fart in the wind.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Somebody's been watching my ride and roasts.
Well, it's a wonderful expression.
Yeah, so, on a side note, where did you first see our show?
Well, I was linked by a friend, the episode Can't Cut the Mustard, about women in the army.
Yeah, we got to strike for that.
Yeah, that's now banned.
Yeah, I liked it, and I thought, like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
And then I started watching you guys.
Cool. Hey, how many people we have watching now?
You're going to be surprised.
Okay.
951.
In the middle of the day.
In the middle of the day.
Holy shit.
I'm not going to rat anybody out because I've been watching the chat, people who are at work. I'm not going to say you should do that, but I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you, man, Z, this is pretty creepy stuff here. And, you know, for all those people out there who say, oh, it can never happen here. We're not like that. We're better. We could do it different. You're out of your goddamn mind. You're fucked in the head. Okay. Because
and there is a mental barrier that prevents people from understanding that. Like in the Soviet Union, the communist ideology, it promised a very bright future. It said that everyone will be happy. Everyone will be sated. There won't be any wars. Well, and people were completely unprepared for what came next.
Yep. Yeah. And from my understanding, from 1901 to 1999, the USSR killed hundreds of millions of people, either starved them to death or what have you. And it was not a pretty thing. So, I'm sure they made everyone happy. I'm sure they made everyone happy once they killed off enough of their population that they didn't have to provide for. So maybe that's how they get it to work. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes when I talk to people who are nostalgic about the Soviet Union and they tell me, oh, we had so much free stuff. We had this and we have that. And I ask them, at what price? Behind each of your free meals, behind each of your free apartments, there are thousands of dead guys who died in a lime-filled trench with a bullet in their head.
Mm-hmm. And from what I understand, very similar things are happening in China as well.
Yeah, China is getting rid of anyone who dissents or anyone who as much as doesn't like the government.
That's absolutely correct. And that's par for the course for communist, socialist dictatorships, or dictatorships as I call them.
Pretty much any ideology that does not take into account natural law, that people are not equal, people naturally form hierarchies, and people are selfish at heart, this ideology is going to fail. And it's the only difference is that how many people is it going to take down with it.
Wow.
I could not have said that any better.
Wow. That is that's right on the money. So after it all settled down, what took place?
It was stagnation, but at least some supplies started trickling into the country. There was some reconciliation to an extent, but it took us 10 years to rebuild. It took us 10 years to clean the trash out because the criminal groups started splitting the country into areas of influence. So basically, it was a nightmare. So 3 years of war were followed by 10 years of ruin and stagnation.
Yep. All right. So how's everything now over there?
It's pretty good. I'm not going to say that the country is thriving, but it is nice and quiet. It's safe. I don't really have a problem with it now, although I don't live there anymore.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I always hear people like, well, Europe is so sophisticated and Europe is such a safe, good place to be. Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. Between 1701 and 1899, Europe was at war every 3 to 5 years. Continuously. And then they had 2 world wars fought on their soil. So yeah, okay. No, thank you. You can keep it. Now I'm not bashing, your country. I'm just saying Europe is not a safe place. It never has been.
I know.
And it never will be.
That's why I laugh when I hear local politicians talking about, love, peace, and unity and all that kumbaya stuff, because 25 years ago, these people were slaughtering each other.
Unfortunately, that's the way it goes, and I've told my fans on the show that somehow the numbers 36 and 38 keep playing into my psyche, and they have been for like about a good 3 years. So those numbers have something to do with what's going to take place in our future. What that is, I don't know. Who knows? It could be a convention of states. It could be a number of states that wind up saying, fuck it, we're leaving the union. I don't know. I'm just saying that, that is, that's going to come into play.
Yeah. And let me tell you about what it was like to be on the inside of the war.
Okay.
So if you were not part of the fighting sites, if you were not one of the fighters, if you were a regular guy like my family members who just wanted to keep their heads down and hope to live to the next sunrise, first of all, you had to be very careful with talking about your sympathies, because people talked, and expressing sympathy for one side or another meant you became a supporter. So one day, a bunch of tough guys could show up at your door and say, oh, we heard you like us. That's cool. So why don't you do us a favor, to help the cause? And this meant that eventually another bunch of tough guys would show up and shoot you for helping the enemy.
Yeah.
And all of these groups that were engaged in the conflict, they supported themselves by making profit of people, like running protection rackets, running road checkpoints, and dealing drugs. So it was a wild mix of military and gang activity. Like there were muggings, there were burglaries, break-ins. You could get shot for a pair of shoes. Every single person outside carried a weapon, a firearm or otherwise, even children. I slept with a knife that I made from a piece of pipe.
Wow.
And every day you learned about someone dying, shot, stabbed, beaten to death, starved to death. And it's a small country. Georgia has a population of 3.5 million. So most people know each other. And every day you got news about this and that. This relative of ours is dead.
Actually, in a war zone, that's very common. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but that's just one of the realities of the two-way rifle range. Is people die. And
people die.
I'm sure that a lot of people died from disease because your medical system probably didn't have supplies or was operating at a very low efficiency rate.
Let me tell you about what was going on. So both my parents, they are surgeons. So they were at work almost 24/7. Not just because of the Hippocratic Oath, but because every single saved patient's family brought them something as gratitude, and they used it to feed the family. But the situation itself, it was atrocious, because when the fighting started, hospitals became prime targets for raiders and looters because they had stocks of alcohol and they had stocks of morphine. They were not sanctuaries by any means. They constantly came under attack by one faction or another, or they had looters or junkies breaking in looking for their fix. So it mostly went like that. Mother is doing surgery and father is standing outside with a rifle.
Okay.
And when she got tired, they switched places. In some
that's
cases,
hardcore, man. That's hardcore.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's hardcore, man. Oh, my hat's off to them.
There were cases like, for example, soldiers or bandits would drag in some guy who was basically a bag of bones, like bleeding all over the place, 2 heartbeats away from death, and tell the doctors, fix him up. If he dies, we will kill you all right here. Yeah, so hospitals were overcrowded, extremely undersupplied and understaffed. So unless you were facing imminent death, they would turn you away. They would tell you to walk it off. So the shortage of medicine was unbelievable. If you were given even a saline drip or treated with expired medicine, you could consider yourself lucky.
Wow.
And if you were dependent on some kind of medication or regular medical procedures like dialysis,
You're dead.
you were fucked. Yeah, it was a death sentence.
Yeah.
That's why we have very few people in Georgia with chronic diseases who are above the age of 40, because almost all of them died.
Wow. Yeah, that's just adding more to the flavor of misery that took place over there.
Damn.
Now, I understand that you were in Georgia, but then there was the Chechnya conflict that took place at the same time. And then there was the Balkan, fiasco. There was a bunch of these small conflicts that took place when the Soviet Union fell. Georgia just wasn't the only one. Is that correct?
Yeah. Right next door, we had the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. To the north, we had the Chechnya war, and Turkey was quite unstable at that period as well. Mm-hmm. So it was war all around.
Yeah, because I actually had a couple friends who were in the whole Chechnya area when that was taking place, and they said that was absolutely insane. They were putting up like sheets to block snipers from across the city shooting people that were trying to just get food and basic necessities at a market. And
if you went out and if you weren't careful, you were fair game. You might not come back.
That's right. And I run Popp's Preppers, and I'm trying to get the word out there that you need to have a place to go to that is away from a major city, because when it goes down, you might have to walk your ass out of there, but you better have a place to go, because when shit gets fucking tight, people are not going to share food with you. They aren't going to fucking give you resources unless you bring something to the equation. So.
Exactly. So my number one tip for survival is do not be alone. Lone wolves almost never survive. Let's say you have a fortified house somewhere. You're well stocked, your pantry is full, you grow and raise your food. Okay, let's say someone finds out about it and tries to invade your house. Okay, you fight back, you shoot them, but a few days later, a truck will pull up to your house, and now you're dealing with 20 armed guys. And if you are alone, you're not walking out of there alive.
No, you're not. Life is not a Rambo movie.
Yeah. So unless you have a bunker hidden away in bumfuck nowhere where it can't be found even accidentally, which is stocked with all imaginable supplies you might need for years, your lone wolf prep shelter full of tactical stuff is just a very attractive bait for raiders and looters.
Correct.
So connect with people. Always have someone who has your back. Form a community. My family was stuck in the city, so we organized with neighbors who lived in the same building, then with neighbors who lived in the building next to ours, and with the entire block. We traded with each other. We helped each other out. We watched and warned each other about threats. In the rural areas, it's even easier. Yes, your neighbors might not always be pleasant people, but you're not looking to marry them, You're looking for what they can do for you to help your continued survival. You don't have to like them to work with them.
No, and that's another thing a lot of people don't seem to understand. You don't have to be buddy-buddy with everyone in your group. You just have to have people willing to assist each other, period. Okay, and that could be anything from, hey, you have a well, I don't. Can I come over and get water from you? And then I have berries and I have apple trees. We can do a little swap thing. Yeah,
Yeah, it starts with the little things. Like,
correct.
Hey man, my kid has a fever. Can you look at him? Oh, thanks for taking care of my kid. I just finished baking some flatbread. Please take some.
Yeah.
And there
you go.
Your family will not go to bed hungry this day.
Yes. And is there still, after all this time, like people getting charged with war crimes and stuff that took place during that time?
No, anyone who was basically anyone important, they either got charged and got life in prison, or they got assassinated, or they fled the country.
Okay. So the people who basically ran the show, got the big sleep, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the militia commanders, the crime bosses, mob bosses, basically, they were so fucking heinous. They were such horrible people that the new president, whom they installed, he ended up killing them off.
Okay.
They were completely out of control.
Unfortunately, and this happens in every two-way rifle range, that if you go off the hook and you do some fucking egregious shit, you are going to get whacked. So if you're
one way or another.
Whacked, packed, and stacked.
But what I'm saying here is this, is we have in the United States, in our Constitution, we have the right to form militias and to, have weapons. All right. If you are, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a libertarian, if you're a conservative, or you're a leftoid. You need to pack up with people, okay? If you want to survive what's gonna happen, all right? And if shit gets really fucking bad, don't be a heinous asshole, all right? And you might be okay.
Yeah. Because a boy from my neighborhood, it happened during the war. A boy from my neighborhood, he tangled with the wrong people. He ran his mouth. He wrote checks he couldn't cash. So a few days later, when he was returning home, he was met with two guys who put a pistol to his head and pulled the trigger. 15-year-old kid. And his mother had to scrub her son's brains from the stairwell.
Wow. That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one.
Yeah, well,
listen,
life is shit.
Well, the thing is, when the law goes away, those are the type of people who are going to cause the most problems. They're the bully type kind of guys. So it's unfortunate, but what are you going to do? And I'm no exception. I'm one guy, but two or three guys could take me out. I mean, I'm not Captain America. Maybe I might poke out a dude's eye or get a couple good shots in, but at the end, I'm dead. Okay, because this is the way it is.
Unless you have a gun, then it evens the odds a bit.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me, I have a request, just because of this dude's accent. I hope you don't mind.
All right.
Because it's been a very somber show, so I thought it'd be kind of interesting if we did this. It's covering up my face. There, get rid of that. Hey, Z, could you do me a favor? I just want you to say, in your natural tone of voice, Terrence, your chick days are done. You're morbidly obese and you're going to die.
Terrence, your chick days are done. You're morbidly obese and you're going to die if you don't lay off the pizza.
Yes!
You sound just like my doctor. Oh my God. He used to be he was in the Russian army as a medic in the Spetsnaz years and years and years ago. So he's used to dealing with soldiers. So I'd walk in there like, Terrence, what's wrong? I'm like, fuck it. My hip is fucked up. This is a current injury or is this old war injury? It's an old war injury. Then I suggest you take Motrin, drink water, and drive on.
Nice.
What a dick! What a dick! Yeah, but it was a good time. So it was a good time. That is funny though. So you're seeing a lot of the same stuff starting to happen over here. You have the pros and the antis forming up. All right, we're basically losing faith in the active federal government, either through hook or by crook, and that is reflected in the polls of our current president. How his approval poll is historically low, and the vice president's approval poll is the lowest it has ever been since they started tracking it.
Which is hilarious because Dick Cheney shot someone in the face and had higher approval than Kamala Harris.
I know. I'm just saying, though. That's just the way it goes.
It's the way it goes.
Well, you see, there will also be a psychological disconnect. Like I said, people in the West, they are used to trusting the government. They are used to thinking that the government acts in their own best interest. So this, once they realize that this is no longer the case, there will be huge cognitive dissonance. People will go crazy.
I know. And a lot of those people who are in the government now, when that happens, they're in supreme danger. Because they basically go to the top of the most wanted list and people start gunning for them.
Well, my personal opinion is that the moment the bullets start flying, these people will be out of the US on the first flight.
They will. Yeah, they will. But you know what? After it all settles down, there will also be fugitives because people will want their asses. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Well, it depends. If you are on some sort of Caribbean island in the middle of nowhere, I don't think anyone will ever find you. But then again, you will be stuck there for the rest of your life.
Yeah, well, never is very subjective. In today's day and age, if you know what you're doing, you can track down pretty much anyone if they make any of the smallest mistakes. I mean, unless they have a new ID, they go somewhere where they don't interact with people on a regular basis, then yeah, they could probably maintain, safety for a good long time. But that kind of living is, well, how shall I say, not pleasant. So, yeah. But that's all hypothetical shit. It hasn't happened yet, and I hope it doesn't. I hope we are able to pull ourselves out of this before it devolves down to something like that. But over here, we have this movement, the Green Movement, the Green New Deal, where they want to, stop building your house with wood, stop using natural gas to heat your house. You can't burn any wood. You can't drive your goddamn car. I mean, what do they think is going to happen if they are even partially successful with this? It's going to tank the economy. And it's going to be off to wild, wild west land, just like it happened in your country.
Yep, because if your high and mighty values are just excess fat of your success, once the success is no longer there, these values will be gone as well.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So all of these uber famous pop stars, when the bullets start flying, they're not even a second thought in the rearview mirror.
Oh, they're a thought.
Fuck them.
Just not the kind in your head.
No. Fuck them. Fuck them.
I remember talking to a leftoid about this whole thing, and he told me that if there is a two-way rifle range in the US, the left will win because we will have all of the media on their side.
The media doesn't mean anything when bullets start flying.
Here's another thing about the media. And I'm trying to convey this. All right. The military maintains a unit called PSYOPs. And they use pamphlets, radio, TV. They basically use the media to push propaganda. Okay, now propaganda doesn't stand up to truth, logic, and reason. But since the military considers propaganda as a weapon system that they employ, it's only logical that if this whole thing were to kick off, the media is not going to enjoy the protections that they once did, since they are, in effect, an active weapons system in the battle space.
I mean, even by the most weak rules of engagement, if you help the enemy, if I'm not mistaken, the wording is if you provide succor to the enemy, you are considered a combatant.
Okay. Well, what do you mean? What is provide succor to the enemy? Safety, support?
Yes, safety, food, shelter, anything.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that will happen. Now, I myself, if I get caught up in such dealings, I'm not going to go and be some crazy wazoo asshat doing fucking horrible shit. I basically just want to survive and get through it and have my loved one survive as well. So let's hope we don't have to do that.
Speaking of survival, do you want to hear how we made it?
Yeah.
And what the things were like, how the regular people survived?
Sure.
Yeah, so like I said, our money was worth nothing, which means most of the trade was barter. You couldn't just go to the store and buy stuff because there were no stores and there was no stuff. So if you needed something, no matter how trivial, you had to find a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy. And I decided after thinking to call this system 3 Fs: food, fuel, and favors. So non-perishable food, it was super valuable. So canned stuff, spam, rice, flour, milk powder, cereals, macaroni, potatoes, salted and cured meat, nuts, coffee also. So remember, no electricity means no refrigeration. So unless it's winter outside, anything perishable has to be eaten within a day or two. So people traded with each other. Booze was excellent actually for trading, but sugar to make it was very hard to obtain. But Georgia is a winemaking country. So if you had a grapevine patch or a fruit garden, you could make wine or moonshine, and many people did.
Moonshine.
Yeah. And surprisingly enough, another product that was in huge demand was breast milk.
That's weird.
So
okay.
Women who had babies at that period and could not produce milk due to malnutrition or stress, they paid women who could to come and feed their babies. It was like a business.
All right. Okay. Well, all right. Yeah. I mean, it's a demand. It's a demand. Might as well use it. I got it.
Because baby formula was not even known back then. People had no idea what the fuck it was. And it wasn't available.
No. And that's another weird thing is if it kicks off, all of these vegetarian vegans out there are going to be sucking hind tit.
They are gone.
They're sucking hind tit. Because that's just the way it is. Like, I myself, I'll eat snakes. I will eat squirrels. I will eat possums. Raccoon, not so much. Maybe not a cat. I hate cats, plus they're ridden with diseases.
You shoot them yourself.
Yeah, I mean...
You might get rabies from a raccoon.
Well, if you cook it, yeah.
Trash pandas.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
You can eat anything. If it walks, crawls, or swims, and it's not toxic, you can eat it. And most of the animals that are toxic to eat are fairly easy to identify. So... And there's not that many of them, especially up here in America.
Yeah, people nowadays who say that, like, "Ooh, I would never eat that. That's disgusting."
Yeah,
it just means they have never been hungry.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Looking, when I was in Ranger School and I was 136 pounds, it was not below me to jump into a dumpster and eat food right out of that motherfucker. Because that happened. Okay.
I remember your story about eating dog food.
Oh yeah, that shit was great. Wow. It had like a oaky, smoky flavor to it. And it was, until I drank the water, it was great. Because then it swelled up in my stomach and I felt like I was drunk. I was like, I could barely talk. I couldn't even like undo zippers. My hands are all, it's like I was high on morphine or something. It was insane. Wow, we have almost 1,300 people watching. That's good shit.
Hell yeah. Thank you all very much for tuning in. This is our first Monday afternoon stream at noon, but it is going to become a regular thing. This is going to be it. So Mondays and Wednesdays, 12 noon Eastern. Tuesdays, usual time. Thursdays for members only. Locals, subscribe to our Patreon for as long as they continue to let us exist.
Correct.
Now that PayPal has decided that we're persona non-nookie, we're kind of screwed over. Yeah. We might get screwed there pretty soon.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure something out. We might have to just have our own shit. I don't know what to figure.
Well, I'm already looking into it.
Yeah, we got to, you know what, we're going to have to probably talk to Donovan, who's had to deal with this, and some other people who have felt this kind of pain.
Already talking to him.
But you're going up up the ranks when they start doing like this shit like this to you.
Yeah. Well, either that or there's one possibility, just because I know how easy it is for people within that particular alphabet mafia to start little organized flagging raids on Discord, and that would be Gabe.
Uh-huh.
After we refused to back down and called him out directly with receipts. Probably got some of his mentally ill friends together, if I had to guess.
It could be anyone. I don't care. We'll figure it out.
Because we didn't violate the TOS.
No. Well,
But as soon as PayPal decided to throw in with the ADL, all attempts at logic and reason went out the window with that company.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, like they do this thing where they shut your account, but you can't get your money out.
Yeah,
if we can get a hold of those people and do a class action,
yeah,
that could be, because that's theft.
It is theft. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
I mean, it's not like we're rich or anything, but there was a good amount of money, especially in your second account. And now they're just saying, oh, you can't have it. Mine.
All right, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Ass bags.
Yeah. We do have file in circuit court. We have super chats?
We do have some super chats to read.
All right, Z, we have to go through some super chats here, so stand by, okay?
Yeah, I'm sure some of these will be for you, Z. So if you guys have any questions that you want to ask Popp or Z on this particular subject, go ahead and we'll knock them out here. Let's check it out. Jeff Schroeder.
How about the old-fashioned way? Get a P.O. box and we'll just send in a money order. That will keep big tech out of our wallets.
Already have a P.O. box. It's in the description of every single video, along with an entire list of different places where you can watch this stream. So check it out down there in the Meat Gazer box. You will find all applicable information for that. We appreciate everything. Thor Gustafson. After the Kenosha Kid has served as a reminder of our duty as free nationals, our anthem should be Keep Your Rifle by Your Side from the Far Cry 5 soundtrack.
Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
Ubisoft really dropped the ball on this one. They made the cultists in Far Cry 5 to be the bad guys who do nothing but pray and think about guns, and in reality they gave the right-wingers a really cool song.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, Keep Your Rifle by Your Side is a really nice song.
Yeah, this is why we say the left can't meme.
Yep.
And it's even more embarrassing when they try to appropriate something that is successfully working against them, like when they tried to redefine what Brandon meant. That's, I mean, I've heard of grasping at straws, if you know what I mean, but
Yep.
that's pretty pathetic. Polska Bob. So, Blake, how should we handle donos now? Patreon? Subscribe works. We're actually testing it out here. Yep, it looks like Streamlabs is still working. We have a super secret way of accepting payments over there. Not going to get too into it. But we're also going to be talking about possibly starting our own private streaming server where we can broadcast anything we want, and possibly set up some kind of a merchant account to accept donations that way, cut everybody else out of the loop so that we don't have to worry about this happening ever again.
Yep.
But you can do one-time tips on Subscribestar, so that's also a very good way to do it if you're interested. I can just start making that part of my routine. I'll keep that screen up, and we can refer to those. Aaron Senek with a $50 donation. Holy cow. Where is it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Keep up the good work from an X414.
Yeah, I know who he is. Good guy. Good guy.
Good dude. All right.
He did his job. He showed up on time. I got no issues.
That's all it takes sometimes, man. What do we got here? Rain Halakar with €5. Greetings from Estonia. Remembering 1991 very well. Bad memories.
Yeah, and for some reason, we as hairless monkeys, we keep relearning the same lessons over and over again. Why would you think that is?
You know, I really don't know. It doesn't make any
I don't
sense
understand.
to me. I got nothing.
Yeah.
When the Soviet Union fell, Russia tried to, well, it decided to leave like fuck you gifts, the parting gifts for the republics. So they mostly staged like bloody provocations, like massacring protesters or attacking border guards and so on. So as a parting gift after the fall of the Soviet Union, Russians killed a shitload of guys in the republics, and Estonia was included as well.
Yeah,
Damn.
that's fucked up.
Yeah, I can see why that would be bad memories. Alrighty here. Ragila, if Russia invades Ukraine, do you think that U.S. grunts will actually fight for Ukrainian independence? Under the current regime?
No.
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 Yeah. Apparently our last president was a Russian puppet, but he was the one who put economic sanctions on Russia, and Biden
Took them out.
took them like first 2 weeks in office, canceled Keystone in the United States, gas prices up 60% as of now, and you let Nord Stream go ahead, which basically gives Russia energy dominance over the entire European Union. But yeah, the last guy, totally a Russian puppet. I can totally see how you got that.
Yeah, totally gotcha. What's the next one?
Thumper the sweaty fat guy. I am a Cold War vet, Desert Storm, OIF, and OEF. I am really unthrilled about another one, especially here at home. I know full well what it means.
Yeah, so do I.
It's not good. Not good at all. Reaper01, question for Lord Z. How far outside the city and into the woods did one have to go in order to be hard to find?
At least 50 kilometers, so that's about 30 miles away from any major population center. That was safe, more or less. But you still had to watch your back, of course.
Yeah, well, when there's no law, one always has to watch their back.
True story. Oof. Double Helix 23 with a $20 donation. I do not see a comment, so if you had one, it looks like YouTube decided to nuke it. But we appreciate the donation. Cabragoon Cabulus, got to have him on more often.
All right.
All right. Yeah, we're going to have some guests. There was a request in the chat to talk about what happened in Waukesha, I think is how you said it was pronounced.
Waukesha. Yeah.
Waukesha. We are going to have a local resident, Dynaside13, is going to be on the show with us tomorrow night talking about everything that the media is conveniently covering up. So tune in tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be covering that and a complete recap of the Rittenhouse trial with all of the facts and the false narratives that the media is continuing to push even after he was found not guilty on all charges. So it'll be a good time.
Amen.
Congratulations on Kyle walking free, by the way.
Yes.
I thought it was going to be a hung jury. I really did. Because typically when it takes that long, that's why.
That's why when I posted the results on the social media pages, you've probably never been happier to be wrong.
Yep. Yep.
Because our right to self-defense was on trial.
Yeah, and the thing about that trial that people are not seeming to connect the dots is all of the motivation that BLM and Antifa are using, and like this whole perception that the minorities are being victimized by the whites, is you saw what that prosecutor did in that courtroom in real time.
Yep.
That happens all over the country. And most people don't even get a trial. They get hit with a list of 8 to 12 charges. The prosecutor says, "All right, well, if you take the deal, we'll give you this charge, and you only do 2 or 3 years. Or if you fight it and we convict you, you're looking at 30." That is a violation of your constitutional rights. You saw it happen in real time.
Yeah.
Now, why are they not protesting that?
Yeah.
Instead of turning this into like a white power thing, which it wasn't.
No, there are, I want to say it was either the Telegraph or the Independent published their recap of the trial and actually said that he shot and killed 3 black men.
I know. And they need to be they need to be sued into Stone Age.
It's just
this
amazing.
whole settlement bullshit. No, take it to court, get punitive damages, set a precedence to make the shit stop.
There's a big difference
The saddest
between
part is that people actually believe that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And this is what cracks me up. There's a big difference between misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation can be a mistake. What they're doing is disinformation. They know the truth. We all saw the same video footage, and they're fucking lying anyway.
Yep.
And people are believing it, acting on it, and people are dying, getting their businesses burnt down, and being assaulted as a result. How is the media not culpable for any of this?
That's absolutely correct.
It makes no sense.
These are questions that need to be answered and asked and answered in the very near future.
Yeah. Ugh. Pisses me off, man. All right. I cannot pronounce this Russian name, so I apologize. It looks like Riha. But, Russian. Can't read it. Apologize. $5 donation. Thank you so much. Dara Sumkoti with $100 super chat. Holy cow.
Thank you.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Bane voice. I can do that. That's right, you riggers. It's another You're Not Worthy donation. When do we get to see Popp and Toxic Male on Fresh and Fit? I'll reach out to Myron. I've got his cell phone number. And because he did talk to us when we met him in Vegas.
He was a good guy.
And he was all about having us down there. It's just a matter of setting it up, I think.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Oh, yeah. Did you see Myron nuke those chicks who wanted a traditional man the other day on the show?
I did not.
And he's like, oh, so you're not, it's like, are you virgins? No? So you're not a traditional woman. Why do you get to have a traditional man?
Oh!
Boom! I was like, oh, they weren't expecting that.
Oh, God, that's good.
That was delicious.
It's good stuff.
Bailey Chastain, hey, lads, learn how to make and store Herbswurst.
Okay.
What is Herbswurst? Do you know what that is, Z?
Judging by the worst part, probably some sort of sausage.
Yeah,
maybe
that's what I
cured
thought.
or salted.
Yeah.
Okay. Herbswurst. Herbswurst. Now, let's check it out. That's what the internet is for, right? German Herbswurst sausage.
Yep.
A German sausage made from pea flour, pork belly, beef or pork fat, onions, salt, and spices. Can be eaten as a snack or dissolved in hot water to make a nutritious and rich in calories pea soup. The product has an almost unlimited shelf life. It is easy to make and easy to prepare. Sounds like a good
unless
quality
you
thing.
prepare in advance, you're not going to make this during the war.
No. Yeah. Yeah, because all that shit is going to be gone.
Yeah. Eli Nope with a $50 donation. Thank you so much. No comment with that one, at least not one that YouTube allowed to remain on the site. Triggers McNickers, how you doing, good sir? The greatest tragic irony of an upcoming boogaloo is that those who are screaming for the fall of America are those the least prepared to survive it.
Well, it just falls back into be careful what you wish for.
Yep.
The loudest voice in the room is usually the weakest.
Yep. In that respect, I actually have to throw a bone to Live Free or Die Hard, which a lot of people didn't like, but the moment when the young leftoid computer hacker actually sees what it's like when you take down the system and it's chaos and panic and people are dying, it's like, I thought it would be fun to do that. And then Bruce Willis has to look at him and say, it's not a system, it's a country.
That's
It's
right.
full of families and people.
Yeah.
So, may not be the greatest Die Hard movie, but that's a damn good moment. All right, Smooth Criminal. Most of the government leftoids have bought houses in the top part of the DR. That's their hideaway in case homes. They're all in the same vicinity.
DR.
Dominican Republic?
Okay.
I'm guessing that's what DR is, and it's the first thing that came to mind.
That's not a... I'm going to be honest. That's not really that safe place to be.
Probably
Yeah,
not.
Dominican Republic isn't the safest place on
No.
earth even now.
Like, literally, you could pull up there with like 40, 50 dudes and some boats, walk onto the shore, and then do whatever the hell you want, get back to your boats and be gone. And what the hell are they going to do about it? Nothing.
Smooth Criminal, let me know if I'm right with that interpretation. I could be wrong. Seahorn from Canada. Are the local subscriptions and tip jar independent of PayPal? Yes, they are. Locals is tied through Stripe. No PayPal there.
Yeah, but, they're fucking with other individuals, so we'll see what happens with Stripe.
Yeah. Just seems like there's no wanting for the left to find little back ways for screwing with people who tell the truth.
Yep.
Alternative Lifestyles for Men. Good morning from Colorado, you crank yankers.
All right.
That was a fun show. We could totally do some crank calls on people. That'd be hilarious.
We could.
With all the different impressions I can do. That'd be great.
I like the one with the soundboard with like his Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice in it.
Yeah.
It keeps it.
This is Detective John Kimball.
He's like, what? And people like get off work. What? They go, it's hilarious.
I'm a cop, you idiot.
My name is John Kimball, and I love my car.
And I love my car.
Oh, shit.
I'm the party pooper. All right. Greenie83. I hope the Kenosha Kid is a billionaire by the time all the lawsuits are said and done. Also, rest in piss to the lowlifes that he rid the world of.
All right. Now, the only one that I don't have any sympathy for was the child molester.
Yeah.
Okay. And those guys, I don't know what they knew or what was going on. And I'm just going to tell you, you don't show up to a gunfight with a skateboard.
Amen to that.
Okay, I'm sorry. You know, that guy got his arm shot off. If I can almost guarantee you, if he'd killed Rittenhouse, he wouldn't be charged with shit.
No.
He would have got off with self-defense.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about
you can take consolation in the fact that for the rest of his life, whenever he looks in the mirror, he will remember getting his biceps vaporized by a 17-year-old kid.
That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
And Joseph Rosenbaum, he died as he lived, trying to touch an unwilling minor.
So fucked up and true.
Jonathan Nagy, brother 82nd Airborne here. I understand the wish to avoid war here, but when the left controls everything and is only growing in power, how long do we kick the can down the road until the only option becomes clear?
I don't have an answer for that, but he's got a valid point.
Yeah. Right now, I think the best strategy is, the sticks, hex, and hammer strategy, which is, and Steve Bannon apparently has adopted it, going in, winning these local and state elections, and retaking the system from the ground up and making sure that it actually functions the way that it is supposed to.
That would be nice.
It appears to be working so far, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to have contingencies in place.
Correct.
Alrighty here. Dun, dun. Caprigoon Capulus. He got funding for lawyers. Let's fund him to sue the media gloriously.
I think they're already doing that.
Yes.
I would like to see GoFundMe get sued for taking this stuff down. It's total discriminatory.
Yeah, they can get sued for that.
Yeah. Well, I hope they do.
And Joe Biden was a private citizen when he used a campaign ad to call Kyle Rittenhouse a white supremacist, so he can be sued as a private citizen. Isn't it amazing how that works?
Well, let's
you
hope.
Can't use taxpayer money then.
He'll try.
He'll try, but yeah. Well, virtually every dollar he's embezzled and made part of his personal fortune is taxpayer money.
But what they don't seem to understand is if Rittenhouse can actually get the suit into court and make it to discovery, then he can actually get all of the financials on the president, and those will mysteriously get leaked to the public.
Yep.
And then we're off to the races again.
And the media just won't report on it.
Well,
again,
not all of them.
Just like the Hunter Biden laptop, the Ashley Biden journal, where she talks about taking showers with her father.
I gotcha.
Sniffing is bad enough.
I mean, people have gotten away with worse.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yes, they have.
Unfortunately.
Yep. Bad father. Bad touch. Corporal Savagery. Former Red Leg here. My mom fled Poland in the late 60s, and I did a tour in the sandbox. Neither are a situation I want to see here.
Unfortunately, it's on its way. Unfortunately. And all it's going to take now is just that one thing. And for instance, if it's a cold winter and people are starving and freezing, people tend to get really pissed off at that.
Yep. And they're going after our kids too.
Yep.
So that's 2 strikes.
Yeah, nothing lights a fire under a man's ass like the prospect of his kids being in danger.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you can take the tubbiest, the laziest couch potato and tell him that tomorrow something will happen to your kids. He will go nuts. If he has a ball sack, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a tall order today.
Yes, it is.
Soy boys. Smooth Criminal. Yes, Blake, you are correct. Problem is that they have private armies because the drug lords are right there next to them, and one hand washes the other. Sounds sensible.
Yep. And drug lords, they're real tough until they get that, 1,000-pound bomb late night wake-up call.
Yep. That's one hell of a wake-up call.
Yeah.
All right. Dynaside 13 on Streamlabs. Waukesha casualty update. 18 kids aged 3 to 16 at Children's Hospital in Wisconsin. 10 in the ICU.
Ooh.
6 critical. 3 serious, 1 fair. 6 in surgery last night. 2 in surgery today.
Wow.
Holy shit.
It's Waukesha.
Yep.
So you know.
Waukesha, whatever. And, yeah, because of the stunning and brave complexion of the guy who did it.
Won't see it in the media.
Yeah, now watch the media flock to this guy's defense.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, he must have been pushed to the brink by a society that seeks to oppress him. Wee.
No, my mother lived in Waukesha when she was young.
Oh, yeah, Waukesha. Okay. Have to remember that. Embudo. As someone who also had to survive Marxism, thanks for passing the word along like I have, Z. I do the best that I can with what little time I have in the day. Unfortunately for Peru, we didn't have the success Georgia had because of the Clintons and the Rodhams.
Yep.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you survive communism, you will develop like a sixth sense for it. You can smell it coming because it's like an inoculation. Because if someone fools you once with it, if you're lucky enough to live, you're not going to get fooled twice.
Yep.
And people who are flirting with communism today, they are flirting with the very colorful wrapper. They don't see the monster that is under this wrapper.
Yep.
Yep. And they would see it if they were taught it in school, which they're not. So they're teaching people a bunch of dribble.
Lots of dribble. Goodness gracious. Let's see. Jumping back over here. Polska Bob with a $25 donation. Thank you so much, good sir. He wanted to test out the Streamlabs to make sure it worked, and it is. Shark Dentures. Just because. Also, I will donate as long as Streamlabs will accept my credit card and guest status. Puck Pal and Yuck Foo Tube. I will contribute. So long as I don't have to create accounts, give personal information, and support censorship. Amen to that.
Sure, sure.
Tracy Wilborn, best Monday morning at work ever. Thank you, Z, for painting a picture of what we may be looking in this country. Grim that it is. Yes, it is. It's quite grim.
I hope you guys avoid it.
Yeah, so do I.
Because if something happens to the US, if it splits or balkanizes or whatever, if it loses its role, the world might actually start unraveling. So the world might be sent into another spiral.
It will.
World War III.
Yep.
Let's see here. Jumping over to MGTOW.tv. Shadow Monk 99. I see where this is going in the clown world of juvenile Joeys in office. I'd rather eat gonorrhea hemorrhoid Sundays than the forced jab. That's a really interesting way to spell gonorrhea. What a fist fuck. This was my 15th hit on good old Mary Jane Do You Wanna, and it's still disturbing that the Mausia from Beijing Wood and Winnie the 11th, or Winnie the 11th. I don't know. Some real interesting pop language going on in this particular super chat.
He's obviously a little on the inebriated side.
Yeah, 15.
It's all right.
15 hits on the Mary Jane Do You Wanna. I could see what's going on.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I don't know whether to use these keys to type or eat them. Greg V 976. Not a hairless monkey, just a pissed off gorilla.
All right, you can say that. That's fine. But,
It all
we're
works.
basically the most intelligent primates on the planet, and some of us are more melanin challenged than the others. So what
Yeah.
are you going to do?
And when Pop doesn't dye his hair, he's a silverback ape. It's all good.
Yeah, my hair is white now.
Yeah, that's what happens, man. DD12 on Odyssey with 25 library coin. Thank you very much. A great guest. What's his name and does he have a channel? We're calling him Z. He's keeping his identity a secret. And do you have any sort of channel?
No.
No, I don't have any online presence at all.
Well, you're a very gifted natural speaker. So if you ever wanted to do a podcast or anything like that, I'm sure people would tune in.
Yeah.
Maybe I will one day.
I got you.
Well, if you do, we'll be there for you and we'll promote the shit out of it. Calebon, Subscribe Star is less sketchy right now than Patreon. Oh, amen to that. Yeah. Subscribestar is actually more functional than Patreon. I can do like one post for stuff on Subscribestar, stuff that would ordinarily take me 3 to do on Patreon. And Patreon is constantly having issues with the Vimeo embedded video files. I have to actually comment the link just so people can watch it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Berserker Brad, 1983. Blake, verify your cash account on Odyssey so we can send you cash tips. I thought that I had. I'll double check it. I tried to send you guys some cash and would not allow the transaction to take place. You know what? Maybe there's a PayPal issue there too. I'll double check it. Manic Mike or Manic Mike. Can I post links to your guys' stuff in the Salty Cracker live streams? Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe eventually he'll respond to our emails instead of his wife. DD12, let it fall. If I die, I die. DD12 again. We got 2 more from him here with 5 library coins each, back to back. Hate to break it to everyone, but Rittenhouse realistically will not be able to sue for things like being called a white supremacist. He could sue people for saying he was using a white power sign, okay, hand signal, but the issue is determining damages. That is not correct. Because they literally called him a murderer, and they are incorrectly stating that he murdered 3 black people. Those are all defamatory actionable claims because they objectively did not happen.
Plus all of the media attention that they purposely gave him is going to...
Yeah.
How do you recover from that?
Yeah.
How do you put damages on that?
Yeah, and many of them are not using the word allegedly. Salon published an article just today saying that he is the quintessential example of like white supremacy vigilantism. Like, okay, Salon is going to get nuked for that one.
Well, I'm going to be honest. Whenever... historically, I keep going back to this, but it's true. When we started moving from the East Coast to the West Coast, we had a frontier that moved pretty much 20 to 30 miles, every season or every year. And then it started to go a lot quicker once we got, Louisiana Purchase done. But all of that area, as we came across, there was no law. There was no courts. Okay, there was no police. Okay, and finally, when it got bad enough, the people who lived in an area said, you know what, this is insane. And they packed up and cleaned house.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it works. Okay, yeah, and the Rittenhouse was there, and he was there with... 150 other armed men who showed up to do what the cops should have been doing.
Yeah.
And the cops were told to stand down. All right. So that's another qualified immunity issue.
Mm-hmm.
If you have somebody running your police department and you have obvious shit going down and he says, you know what, we're not going to do anything. Oh, you can't sue him. You can't do anything to him because he's enjoying qualified immunity. That's horse shit.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, this qualified immunity thing is what's leading to a lot of this anger that we have going on.
Yep.
And we need to address this. It's insane.
Amen to that. It needs to go the way of the dodo bird. Or at the very least, it needs to be something that's determined by empirical evidence and adhered to almost like a licensing. Like,
correct.
Okay, so you do this, which means that you are not allowed to do these things. You do them, you're done. Qualified immunity rescinded. You can be sued. Bye-bye. Or prosecuted. DD12 again. He could also sue them for deliberately putting out factually incorrect information. That's the defamatory stuff. The trial makes it hard for him to collect damages. This comes from Robert Barnes. He can break it down better. We'll have to check him out. Jumping back over to YouTube, we had a few more chats come in here at the end. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Waterwell Guy 99. Question for Popp and Z. Besides meds, bullets, and beans, what is the biggest thing people should have for when the shit hits the fan? Awesome chat, by the way.
Well, you better have access to a water source because if you don't have water, you're dead in 3 days at a minimum.
Yeah, but if you have access to water and if you live in a cold area, what you need is a supply of fuel. In our case, during the war, we mostly used kerosene because it was cheap, it burned slowly, and it could be stored for a long time. So every single home had kerosene stoves, which could also be used for heating, and lamps. Gasoline and diesel, they were less popular because they are unstable. You can store them for a long time. And they were only used for cars and generators, which very few people had. But actually, any source of heat and light, it worked. Like candles, wood burners, flashlights and batteries were in huge demand. Those portable propane burners that hikers use, they were very valuable trade items. You could get a lot of stuff for one of those.
All right. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you used to have those water purification tablets, which did nothing for the mosquito larvae.
No. I mean, they killed them, but you still drank them. That's why it just makes my skin crawl when I think about that.
Yeah.
But if that's all you got, that's all you got.
Yeah, iodine tablets makes the water bitter, but hey, if you're thirsty, it will be the greatest nectar on earth.
Yeah.
It is what it
and
is.
I've drank it many times. It's a lot of times the mud at the bottom of it.
Ugh.
Yeah.
All right, Alternative Lifestyles for Men with a couple of donations here back to back. They'll give you minimal time to take a deal, but they get you by stacking charges and telling you if you fight, you'll face 60 years. It's all twisted. The justice system knows what it's doing by stomping out the rights of 1 in 6 Americans, as 90% of those who end up in court take a plea.
It's absolutely correct.
Yep.
And it needs to stop.
Oof. It's disgusting how this legal system that was supposed to be for everybody and have everyone on an even keel has become completely perverted. And in some cases, differentially enforced to the point where we question whether or not there's justice at all.
Yeah, that's right. And the Chauvin trial, he killed one guy. He was convicted of killing one guy, but they found him guilty on, 3 different charges? Yep. Pick one.
Yeah, pick one. How can you get charged with second-degree murder and manslaughter for the same dude?
I don't get it.
It doesn't make any damn sense.
Well, they're like, well, if you don't get him on this, then you can convict him of this. And if you don't get him here, you could... No.
No.
The justice system should not be a waterfall.
No.
Either you did a crime or you didn't.
Yeah.
Charge him with that one crime and like this whole laundry list of horse shit, which a lot of guys get charged with nonviolent horse shit just added to their stuff to force a plea.
Yep. It's disgusting.
It's wrong. It needs to be fixed.
It's malicious
you
prosecution.
Can't be partially guilty. You can't be just a little bit pregnant. It doesn't work that way.
Yes, you're absolutely correct.
I'm just a little bit pregnant.
Jesus Christ.
Shit. Israel Bill 32980. The leftist chunks need to look up one name to see what happens when absolute power corrupts absolutely, and what happens to them when you piss everyone off. Nikolai. This is French.
Nicolae Ceausescu, the Romanian dictator, communist dictator.
Yeah.
Oh, his downfall was really, really fast. It went from a day when he went on a rally before his supporters and made a speech, and instead of applause, he heard "fuck you" from the entire crowd.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, and within 4 days, just 4 days, he was executed by machine gun.
Oof. Bummer.
Let's go, Brandon.
It's going to get ugly, man, and I hope it doesn't.
All right, we're back to the Russian dude whose name I can't pronounce, so we'll just call him Drago. Jumped in the middle. Is this guy Georgian? Yes. They have some of the best food on the planet. If he's in the U.S., he needs to open a restaurant.
Yeah, lots of people like our food, but I don't plan on coming to the U.S. in the near future. But maybe I'll visit.
I don't blame you.
If you ever do visit, we'll be happy to have you on the show.
Amen.
Andy women.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for coming on. But jumping over to Streamlabs one more time. Speaking of the guest's speaking voice, Blake and Popp, how the heck did you get Liam Neeson to appear on one of your streams? I've been seeing that in the chat. A lot of people think you sound like Liam Neeson, Z.
Well, if you want to, I can read the line from Taken.
Yes, please
the chat
do.
is asking for it.
Yes.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for ransom, I can tell you that I don't have money. But what I do have is a very particular set of skills I have acquired over a very long career, skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my daughter go now, that will be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you, I will find you, and I will kill you.
I like it. I like it.
Outstanding, sir. Thank you very much for that. It's fantastic. We needed a little levity, I think, in this stream after it's a dark subject, and we're headed into a very dark winter.
Yes, it is.
AF on YouTube. Aesop's Fable, better to be a starving wolf than a kept dog. I can agree with that, I suppose, to an extent. Jumping back over to Odyssey, it looks like we have completely caught up on all chats.
All right.
So I think we can call it a day. I want to give a special shout out and a thank you to Z for coming on the show. I mean, this is the kind of experience that money can't buy and no one can script. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing it with us.
Thank you so much, Z.
And thank you for inviting me and having me. It's an honor.
And keep sharing our channel with all your buddies over there.
I already have. Popp's experience is also not something money can buy.
Amen to that.
It's a lot of pain, blood, and fear.
Yes. All right, Popp, what do you say you take us out tonight with a safety briefing?
All
Or
right.
today, I should say.
Yeah, don't drink and drive, don't drink and swim. Wear a condom, flush it down the toilet, watch it go. If you have to fight, don't go to the ground because that's where you get stomped out. If you have to use a weapon in self-defense, shoot to kill, not to wound, because that is how you get sued. Just saying.
Amen to that. And
I can add to that.
go for it.
Never make important decisions when you're hungry, angry, or horny, and never stand between an idiot and consequences of his actions. Your duty is to only warn him once, and if they do not learn from their mistake, they will remain idiots. If they die as a result, they will serve as an example.
Oh, I love it.
That's phenomenal.
I like it.
I'm going to re-listen to this stream, and I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, I'm going to write that down.
I like it. We'll see you all tomorrow night. We're going to be covering the Rittenhouse trial in retrospect, the Waukesha incident, and probably some new tech stuff because, that's how we roll around here.
Yeah. Gotcha.
All right. We will see you tomorrow.
See you later.
All right.